Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the program, and it is show number 116. Happy to be back on with you. Happy to be a member of the Education Podcast Network. Check out their website and the great podcasts located within that group. And again, shout out to Chris Nessie and the work he's doing with the Education Podcast Network. Live on Voice Ed Radio as well, and certainly here live on Facebook. We've mixed up the format a little bit, so if for some reason this isn't transmitting or isn't working, I'll semi-apologize now, but Be Live did upgrade, and it's the first time I'm navigating through it. So if you're watching live, leave us a comment. Let me see if it pops up here, and we'll go from there. So, but like I said, it's show number 116. And the title of the show is Letters of Leadership and Beyond with Stephen Broadwell. We're going to meet Mr. Broadwell here in a moment. He's had an amazing career, an amazing list of accomplishments, and just has done so many things. I'm so impressed, God, looking at like all the stuff that he's done. It's really very impressive. And Stephen, I can't wait to talk with you about it. But one of the interesting things that he's done is he's reached out to over 300 different people and, written them letters, like old-fashioned, old-school letters. People say snail mail, right? Not emails, but he's wrote real letters to them, and he got so many back, right? I want to ask him the percentage of letters he's written versus he's returned, but it's just amazing things in the letters. He shared a few of them with me. John Wooden, Mac Brown wrote him back about secrets of success and coaching, and really just amazing. So I got to thinking, like, what inspired him, right? What was that passion behind it? And then just kept rolling with it, right? He's a leader. He's led. He's been a school superintendent, So I ask our listening audience, what are your passions? What are some things that you're doing outside of school to help benefit you, to help benefit your growth and your learning? I'm so happy to be able to write a blog and share and do this podcast and share. But really, Stephen, I told him he's sitting on a gold mine of the information with the letters, and he's been so generous in sharing them out. We've talked about the lessons that John Wooden has written in his letter on this program before. So that being said, I'm at Andrew Murata 21 on Twitter. If I can help you and in any way, we'll do that. But let's bring Stephen in on the stream here and welcome him to the program. Stephen has given us a rundown, and boom, there he is. Stephen Broadwell, everyone.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Stephen, welcome to the program, and thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yeah, great to talk to you. We finally had a chance to meet you last summer up in Plattsburgh, New York, the North Country. And I appreciate you helping facilitate getting me up there. What's the weather like in Plattsburgh today here in February?
I think we're about 12 degrees. On Friday was -8.
Yeah, 12 degrees is balmy.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Short weather.
Stephen, again, great to connect. And I shared a little bit about the letter writing. But before we get to the letter writing, you're a retired superintendent. You're a former principal, former athletic director, and coach. Give us a little bit about your background, and for those watching around the country, where exactly are you located?
Well, right now I'm located in upstate New York between Lake Placid and Montreal, Canada, right in the between there. But I started out my career down in the southern tier. So I taught phys ed and was a basketball coach, varsity basketball coach for 6 years in a couple different schools. After that, at 28 years of age, I gained my administrative degree and became an athletic director of health, phys ed, and athletics. Was there, and then I moved back to the North Country, had the opportunity to move back home. And again, assumed an athletic director's position here. And after about 3 or 4 years, the high school principalship of the high school that I actually graduated from opened up. And I was lucky enough to become the high school principal at the school that I graduated from, which was interesting. To go back, and I still had I was now supervising teachers that I had as a student. That was sort of fun. And, they were great teachers, so it was a great experience to be able to do that. And then after 6 years there, moved into a superintendency in a small pre-K through 12 district about 20 miles south of there. So
Okay.
I've been in education for 34 years and had the opportunity to be involved in a lot of different aspects of it.
Yeah. And Stephen, 28 years old, you got your administrative degree. What led you at such a young age to say, like, hey, I want to take the next step here in terms of leadership?
I had great mentors along the way and had the opportunity to be able to talk with the high school principal of the school that I was at the time, was Oneonta City Schools. And he shared a lot of his wisdom with me. I was always in the athletic director's office. I was actually in the athletic director's office as a high school student. So I got to see that administrative capacity and what happened within those offices. And people were just so generous to be able to share with, I first as a high school kid and then, as a young educator going through the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have an opportunity to, as you know, to impact many more students, families, and really the community at large from an administrative role.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Stephen, you also served as president of the New York State Public High School Association. Like, how did you get this all done? Like, how did you do it all?
Again, just being involved in athletics was a great experience, coming from the coaching realm and then obviously from the administrative role. Being involved in the New York State AAA, which then led to being involved in the Athletic Association and sitting on the Central Committee. Opportunities arose to become an administrator and a leader there. So I became an officer, spent 8 years as an officer in that organization, and you just get to be around such great people in athletics. So it's been fun.
Yeah. And tell me, along your journey, being so closely connected to athletics, I know there's a lot of comparisons in our roles as school leaders. What were some things in your background from athletics, coaching basketball, playing basketball, that you brought to the table as a school leader?
Well, I think definitely the commitment that it takes, both in athletics, carries over into becoming an administrator. The dedication, the long hours, the teamwork that happens associated with trying to move your team as a coach towards a goal. You're trying to move your team as teachers and a staff towards a common goal, which is basically helping all your students every day on their mission. And you're involved with positive people and you make great connections along the way. So yeah. I think those things are all there. I think also as a coach, you learn to be, which helps you become, as you're an administrator, to be able to take some criticism. That certainly occurs as when you're a principal, when you're a superintendent, all the decisions you make, people aren't always happy with. So you get to develop some of that thick skin.
You mean people weren't always happy with the decisions you made?
That is correct. I'm sure they're not all happy with yours, whether you were in high school or when you had the referee stripes on.
Yeah. And guys, if you're watching live, we hope this is streaming live. It certainly looks like it is. If you are watching, leave us a question or a comment. Stephen Broadwell is an extraordinary leader. He's doing so many great things, and I'm happy to share. Stephen, we connected through the Success Hotline. Dr. Rob Gilbert, he was so gracious to talk about me a little bit and recommend my book, and you went and purchased it and then reached out, right? And then here we are. How did you get connected with the Success Hotline and start calling our friend Dr. Rob?
It's been so long, I don't remember how I initially started, but I've been calling his hotline for probably 25 years.
Yeah.
So I go way back to when he first started I think he's been doing it for 28 years. So I'm not sure where I heard it, but I've been calling ever since. And then I listened to one of the podcasts that he had or one of the calls, and he said he recommended your book, and it was a money-back guarantee. If you don't find this book inspirational and worthy, he will buy the book back from you.
Wow!
I did that before, so I had to check it out.
Yeah,
it is. It's a great book, and I currently do some mentoring with some schools here. We actually used your book last year with the group that I was mentoring with, the administrative group that we were mentoring with, and that led to being able to bring you up and be able to talk to all the administrators here as summer retreat, which was great. And it was people loved it, loved having you here on site, loved hearing your message, loved hearing your energy. So it was wonderful. Certainly appreciate you coming up to be able to do that for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And certainly appreciated you reaching out. That success hotline number, if you're not calling, you don't have it yet. Dr. Rob Gilbert, 973-743-4690. 973-743-4690. Again, and Stephen is one of the many that's calling. Have you ever left him a message, Stephen? Have you ever, gotten in touch with him?
Actually, I took your cue, which is something I've always wanted to do. Was on my bucket list to be able to do is to go down and meet him. So in October, I called him or written to him, I guess first, I emailed him, and he said, "Yeah, I'd love to have you come in and sit in my classes." So I went down and spent the morning with him and went through 3 of his classes. Loved that I brought some of the letters with me, and he was thoroughly impressed with the letters, and actually shared the letters with his classes. And so it was, one of those dreams to be able to meet the person that was on the other end of that phone, that line for so many years. But it was all because you did the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that you had done that. That's fantastic. Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing. I mean, all the things that he's done and the stories that he shares with people are truly inspirational.
Yeah. Well, and Stephen, you've done a lot of inspiring over your time. You've implemented a lot of different ideas in schools and different things. You want to share some of those programs that you started in schools that when you were the principal?
Sure. One of the best things that we ever did as a high school principal is we started a principal's breakfast. And basically, it was just an opportunity to reward some students and recognize students that may not receive the recognition at the academic awards night. And I put it out to our teachers and said, we're going to have coffee and donuts, invite parents in, and recognize one student in your class. And the teachers could choose any student they wanted for whatever reason they wanted to. And we asked the parents to come in a half hour early, served them just basically coffee, donuts. And most of the teachers came in, read the whatever it was that they were the student was being recognized for. Some of it was just hard work. Some of it was because they were the top student in their class. Might have been because they were kind to somebody, and they recognized that they were helping somebody else out. And truly, it was unbelievable the success and the recognition that the students received, as well as the parents. Some of those kids had never been recognized for anything in their lives before through school. And I had parents crying sometimes when we gave them the award, and it was just a certificate, but they were able to stand up in front of their peers and be able to do that at 6:45 in the morning. And truly unbelievable. So if anybody's looking for something to do to recognize students, that would be one of an easy way to be able to do that. And it crossed all the lines. I mean, it was just wonderful to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We had seniors there. We had freshmen there.
That's fantastic. And what about Second Eyes? What's that? You have that written here, Second Eyes.
Yeah, as a superintendent, one of the things we wanted to do was to engage our community. So I went out and asked people within our community and in our local districts to be able to say, would you look at our seniors' college essays? To be able to, our English teacher looks at them before they submit them, but would you be the second set of eyes so that before they send it to their college, they have some feedback? And again, it was incredible, the reception I received from the people in the community. The students were we're writing them with more of a purpose. So yeah. Somebody else was going to read them. So it might have been the president of our hospital, the president of our bank, a variety of people within our community we sent the letters out, received them back. The people had made comments on them. The people that were the former English teachers would write them up with red markers. Other people would just make a comment saying, you might want to include this, you might want to think about this.
Yeah.
And again, it was a great opportunity to engage our community, and our students felt had a different sense of support when they were receiving the letters back.
That's awesome. I think I might take that and use that. That's a great thing. Stephen, you really have a warmth about you, kindness, and leadership in so many facets, and this is me looking from afar. But one of the things I'm so like just really impressed with was this the letter writing and what you've done here. Can you share the story of the passion that you had about writing letters and connecting with people from around the globe?
Yeah, I mean, it started out with writing to John Wooden. I was obviously a basketball coach, and my one of the coaches that I was aware of said that he had written to Coach Wooden, got a letter back. That's pretty neat. He had his address, so I wrote to him and said, "Could you share your wisdom, your success?" And within 2 weeks, he wrote me back a 3-page handwritten letter, which was just amazing. And this was back in 1989. And, it was just incredible to be able to get that back, that connection with somebody that was certainly, influential in my life as a former basketball coach. And it was, he had 14 ideas that he wrote back, along with his pyramid of success that he presented to me. So just the things that he talked about were stay in balance, physically, mentally, and emotionally, was part of his letter. And then the last one was number 14, earn the right to respect by being industrious, friendly, loyal, cooperative, courteous, enthusiastic, self-disciplined, clean, neat, and considerate of others. So best wishes for a successful season.
Yeah. Earn the right. I love that.
Exactly. Earn the right. So from there, I thought, well, this is pretty cool. And I showed it to obviously my coach, my players, my assistant coaches, and then started putting them up on the wall in my offices. And it really didn't really start out as a huge project. It was like, okay, I'll write to some people and see how this goes.
Yeah.
The more letters I started writing to people, and they started writing back. And then I used to post them on my wall. So as the players were in there, the coaches were in there, they would sit down, read them. They'd be excited when one came in, and it's just sort of blossomed from there. So over the years, it's been about 30 years that I've been collecting them, and I have about 300 people that have written back over that time frame.
Yeah. So how many letters would you say you've written? If you received 300 back, how many would you say that you've written?
I probably have received 40% of them back over the years. And again, a lot of times I didn't pay for postage. People were paying for postage to send it back to me.
Yeah.
I always send a self-addressed stamped envelope. It was just, here's what it is. And of course, this was long before email was out. And that was a form of communication.
Yeah.
The handwritten letters.
That's amazing. And again, right, that the Dr. Rob Gilbert about keep them rolling and not the amount of times that you fail. So if you didn't get 60% back, but you still got, 40% back, and you have over 300 letters, and you've been so gracious to share them. What were some other highlights? What were some other ones that really impacted you?
The one that I received from Bruce Jenner in 1994 was amazing when you look at it now.
Yeah.
Was obviously, the World Decathlon Championship or decathlon champion in the Olympics, and now is Caitlyn Jenner. But the letter that I received in '94 said, "Success is not measured by heights attained, but by obstacles overcome. That means everyone has great potential to be successful." And then the last paragraph was, "My advice to all children is to go out and make your place in this world. There is a place for all of us." I just wondered if that was insightful on his end, back how many years ago.
Interesting. I mean, you have some heavy hitters here too. You have Muhammad Ali, Jerry Jones, right? Jack Welch, Jimmy Carter. This is unbelievable. That you got a letter back from Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. So Jimmy Carter's letter he said, "My favorite high school teacher taught us to accommodate changing times, but cling to unchanging principles."
Wow. That's a great quote.
That's what he wrote back.
Yeah.
John Glenn was a U.S. senator from Ohio, but he was the first American to orbit the Earth. And he wrote back, I encourage you as young students to always keep your aspirations high and to work towards making your dreams reality. And that was in 1994.
How'd you decide who to send a letter to?
It just would, I'd be reading something or seeing something on TV and said, oh, that would be neat. I wonder if he or she would be able to write back. And you used to research the address. I used to have address books. I used to have to go to the Barnes and Noble and buy an address book, and you'd sort through the addresses and see if you could find the address for somebody long before the internet was there.
Yeah.
Write them down and see if you could get them. John Calipari was, the basketball coach at the University of Kentucky. I wrote to him in 1993. He was at UMass as the basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
Do the best you can, do right by others, and do what is right. I mean, that was his message to our basketball program at the time.
Some people say he doesn't do what's right all the time.
Exactly. Sometimes you need to follow what you write, but Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a Supreme Court justice, wrote, aspire and work hard to achieve your aspirations and leave tracks, just as others have been the way pavers for your good fortune, so you should aid those who follow in your way.
Yeah. And you're doing that now by sharing these out. And like our friend Dr. Rob Gilbert says, right? Success leaves clues.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The movie Catch Me If You Can was made after a real life person. His name is Frank Abagnale. So I happened to see, he lives in, he works out of Washington, but I saw it and I thought, I wonder if I could find him. And sure enough, he has an office on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington. So I wrote to him and he wrote back a 2-page letter. I think Leonardo DiCaprio played him in the movie, and Tom Hanks was in the movie as well.
Yeah.
So, he talked about how much family is important and is an important thing in his life. And he talked about the greatest advice I can pass on to young people is that people will tell you that life is short. However, in reality, life is very long. When an individual makes a mistake in their life, cheats someone or deceives someone, bullies someone, this will come back and haunt you later in life and create a tremendous burden in your future happiness.
And you shared that letter with me, and I love that movie. I thought Leo did a great job. But I was also fascinated, right, as us as school leaders, how he talked about second chances and how grateful he was to the United States government.
Absolutely.
That they gave him a second chance. They didn't just bury him in prison, but they gave him a second chance, and he wanted to make good on that second chance.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Yeah. Keep going. I love it. I know I have the list here. You got Bill Belichick, Alan Alda, Jim Craig, who was the goalie for the Miracle on Ice.
Yeah, Bill Belichick, obviously the coach from the Patriots, wrote that I truly believe that because I get so much enjoyment from coaching, it never feels like work, and I'm motivated to take on all the challenges that come with it. Selecting and surrounding yourself by such capable people has been an important and invaluable part of my life and has made us successful. Again, surrounding yourself by good people.
And Stephen, do you handwrite the letters yourself with the hope that you're going to get a handwritten letter back?
No, I type them.
Okay.
They're all addressed to the individual person.
Yeah.
And, I handwrite out the envelope so it looks, that it's official, that it's a handwritten letter.
Yeah. And do they send, obviously they're signing the letter, but are they sending like autographed pictures and stuff too? Like,
yeah, some have sent books. Charleston Heston sent me his book. The CEO of Domino's Pizza sent me free pizza coupons, 25 years ago. But a lot of them will just, a lot of them, their office people will type the letters and they'll sign them.
Yeah.
Some have handwritten letters. The one from Jim Craig, actually, they're celebrating the I think it's the 40th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. So Jim Craig was the goalie for the U.S. Olympic hockey team. And he just talks about the biggest key to success is your dreams. And how, apropos for the U.S. hockey team to be talking about dreams and the miracle on ice.
Yeah. And Stephen, let me ask you again, where you're located in the country. Was that something that you had a chance to go to or be involved in when they were up there?
I never went to the Olympics, but there was certainly a great deal of excitement around it. And then Montreal hosted the Olympics as well, the Summer Olympics. So we had a lot of the people training and practicing here before the Olympics were here. And that's where I actually met Bruce Jenner. He was at a basketball game when the U.S. team played here at Plattsburgh State.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right in your backyard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. Stephen, did another thing you've done, right, is the Friday quotes, right? The great quotes. Did you take some of these from the letters that you did, some of your Friday quotes?
Some of them have come from, for about 20 years, every Friday I send out a quote of the week. I used to start it out with my staff just to give them some inspiration at the end of the week and for the weekend. And it's gone to 2 different schools now. When I moved schools, I started it up at the new school, and then other people have asked to join in, and I've sent out the quotes. And so about 6:45 every Friday morning, the quote goes out. So some of them will come from these letters, and then quotes, whether it's you're watching TV, you're reading a book, you're seeing a magazine, you see it online, you say, oh, that might be a good one to be able to put in there.
And Stephen, what do you hope to come from all these letters? I mean, it's amazing what you've amassed there. But what's your hope looking back on what you've done here, and what can you do with them?
Well, first I just enjoy sharing them with people, just as I receive them. And then the ultimate goal is to be able to write a book and publish them so that more people have an opportunity to see them.
Yeah.
So that's the future down the road, is to be able to compile them. And, I've got them, I've scanned them all. They're all on a drive now, and perhaps put something together and some of the quotes along with some of the letters, and maybe it'll be a motivational book that people might enjoy.
Yeah, it's amazing, really, what you've done, and just fantastic. Looking back on that, Stephen, you're in your second full year of retirement. You're still working with a local Rick up there in your area. Looking back on what certainly seems to be a very successful career, what are some things that you're so pleased with? And then the second question is, if you could go back and change anything or add anything, what would have been something that you would have done?
I think the successes of the people that we were able to hire in the places I was associated with. I mean, the most important thing I think as an administrator is to be able to hire good people to work with the students on a daily basis. And I think we were able to do that in all those places that we had some very, very good people working with our students.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the legacy that any administrator can leave is making sure that you hire great people.
Yeah, it's like a marriage.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm not sure I change anything going back. You always go forward. I never look backwards in my life. I always go forward and say, what's next, and what's the next thing that's on the agenda. So it's been a great ride. I've enjoyed every opportunity I've had, every stepping stone as I've gone through the educational process of my career, and just looking for what's tomorrow going to bring, and what's next week going to bring, and what's next year look like.
Yeah. Well, I'm very curious about the book. I would love to, get you hooked up with someone, because it really is fascinating. And again, Frank Abagnale, right? You would think that this guy, was like ripping people off, and now he turned his life around. But you wrote to him, you reached out to him, and he wrote back. Like it's amazing. It's fantastic, and really just I really think it's a great idea, and really could help and benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been fun. Recently I just sent you a letter today that I just received yesterday from Bruce Kittle, and Bruce Kittle. Most people probably do not know who that is, but it's actually the dad of George Kittle, who's the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. And I saw an article on a clip on ESPN about George Kittle writing his son before every football game when he was in college, and then now when he's with the 49ers. And his son reads the letter before every game. And it's a motivational letter. I thought that would be great. to get a letter from, George Kittle's dad. I wonder what he's going to say.
Yeah.
So literally, I just got the letter back and sent it out, and it was wonderful. And the highlights of it were surround yourself with good people. Friends are like elevators, and they either take you up or they take you down. It talks about setting goals and having action steps. And his third one was don't listen to the crowd or naysayers. Be smart, but take some chances. And I just thought it was a well-written letter.
And his was a handwritten.
It was. That was.
Yeah. Hold that up a little bit. Hold that up. That he wrote you a handwritten letter.
So this one is the copy of it because I could highlight it, but
yeah,
that's basically what it looks like.
And you saw it on ESPN and you acted upon it.
Absolutely. The other one, which was I enjoyed very much, was William McRaven. He was a 4-star admiral in the service, and then he became the chancellor at the University of Texas. And if you've not seen it, Google UT Austin's 2014 incredible, the speech that he gave. And again, he wrote back his 10 points of his speech that were inclusive of that, and it looks like this.
Yeah.
He starts out, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed.
And he wrote the book, Make Your Bed, right?
Right.
Yeah. Fantastic. And it's a small little read, but it's powerful.
Great read, and it's a great video to be able to watch. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, wrote back and said, "There's no substitute for preparation and hard work. Surround yourself with the best people and let them do their jobs. But as the person who's ultimately in charge, don't ever lose touch with keeping your hand and your eye on what's going on in every phase of the operation."
Jerry's involved.
Jerry Jones to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. He's involved. That's fantastic. Stephen, this is great. I really, you've inspired me. I've had a chance to meet so many great people on this journey of the podcast and the speaking. And you've been nothing but gracious and kind and really a role model, trying to help other educators out there. One last question, and then we'll get to rapid fire. Tell me, in this role of mentoring now, there's a number of new administrators up in your area, and you really, you're doing that. Tell me, what are some of the things that you're, looking to import on these newer leaders, and what are some areas that you think that they need, like as things that they're soaking up? What are those areas that they need?
I think the number one thing is just being able to talk, having somebody to express their frustrations with, their concerns with, their ideas with, and I can do it from an opportunity of not being their boss, not being their superintendent. They can bounce ideas off, and I have the opportunity to just dialogue with them and have those educational conversations, and say, yeah, you might want to try it this way, or have you thought about this, or so I think that's one of the benefits of having that mentorship of somebody that's not involved directly with them as their immediate supervisor. So that's been positive. From a more global perspective, when I look back on education and reflect positive, forward, there's a thing that I heard somewhere which it's called just in time versus just in case learning. And I look at it, and when we were in school, we learned everything just in case we needed it.
Mm.
And now with technology, we can learn things just in time when we need to learn it. If you need to know how to change a tire, you can YouTube it and learn how to change a tire. Almost everything is on YouTube to be able to do that. So I'm looking to say, how do we change some of the paradigm in education to this just-in-time learning aspect as opposed to just-in-case learning? And is there a way to be able to just modify and tweak that a little bit? Can you have an innovation class? And there's a gentleman, a teacher in Indiana by the name of Don Wettrick, who has a podcast as well. And he talks about having seekers and peakers versus moaners and groaners. So, looking for problems and then looking for the solutions associated with them. And can you engage students that way in the classroom? And I, again, I like the way he phrased it. And he was a middle school teacher and had this innovation class. And, can you do some different things associated with how you teach kids in this day and age, knowing that technology is everywhere? Engage that technology and embrace it in the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
An example is, which, can you have, instead of teaching French and Spanish and Mandarin and all the languages that we teach, can we teach language technology? So that we're leveraging the technology to function with all the languages, whether it be a Google Translate or some other type of technology, so that we can level the playing field for all of our students as they travel around the world.
Yeah.
And can we, can our teachers then use that type of aspect in their classrooms?
It's so interesting to hear you say this. I was in Walmart over the weekend, and you hear that, right? Are we training kids? Are we teaching kids for the jobs that they're going to have? And right, there's custodial workers, there's maintenance workers, there's things like that. And then I turn down the aisle and there's a robot going down the aisle, cleaning the aisle, like the automatic carpet cleaner. And here it was in Walmart. And I said, we were going to have students that may or may not have worked in Walmart, but look at that. Here's another job that's being done by a robot.
Sure. And education, well, actually, our whole world is becoming more personalized. When you and I were growing up, we used to call places. Now we call people. So can we do that, even more of that in education? Can we personalize the education for the students? Today's, students are media and content consumers. And how do we embrace that so that we can infuse that within our classrooms?
What a great message, Stephen. We have a couple rapid fires here we're going to get to, and then we're going to keep rolling. I would challenge you to get that book, because it's a gold mine. Start tomorrow, because you really have done amazing work, and I think people would have a lot to learn from that. So thank you for sharing that story. What are you reading right now? What's the book you're reading right now?
I just finished Bob Iger's book, which is The Ride of a Lifetime. He's the CEO of Disney.
Wow.
Great book. Good read.
Okay. Last movie you saw?
I don't really go to movies, but if I had one to recommend, it's an old movie called Brian's Song.
Okay.
The story of Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo, Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and he became ill, right?
Yeah, Brian Piccolo died of cancer, and if you don't cry at the end of that, you have no heart. Great story.
Best purchase under $100 that's impacted your life?
Audible. Spent a lot of time in the car, so Audible is a great purchase. I think it's $14.95 per month, and you just get the opportunity to listen to books, as you're traveling.
Absolutely. Favorite place to travel?
Charleston, South Carolina. Just came back from there.
Yeah.
Great Southern hospitality.
The Battery, right? That area, the colors. Yeah.
Yep. Wonderful.
I'm not a big drinker here, but I had a drink there, a Moscow Mule, the rare bit. They make an amazing mule there in Charleston. I'm not sure if you tasted it out, but it was great. Yeah.
I haven't had that, but it's a great place to be.
Okay. Life in the North Country, top 2 or 3 things about living in that area.
There's no traffic. So that's wonderful. And just, the people up here, everybody becomes family. And it's nice that anybody, if you need something, somebody's there to help you.
Yeah. And the access to Canada and being so close to Montreal?
It's easy. I mean, we're, probably 35 minutes to the border. Canada, obviously you have to have your passport to be able to get over. But, and then you have an international city really within an hour from here.
Mm-hmm. Title, what would be the title of the book?
Success letters from around the country. The good guys write back. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I like the good guys right back. And I named the show Letters of Leadership. So we'll see.
Letters of leadership.
Yeah. And what will be your next letter?
I'm not sure. You never know where you're going to get the inspiration for seeing where you're going to write the next one. And that's sort of the fun of it. The part of the journey is tonight when you're watching the news, it might come to you and say, oh, that might be a good letter to be able to jot out to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, again, if someone's watching and they want to reach out to you, how could they do that, Stephen? What would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My email is sbroadwell@stephenbroadwell.net.
Okay. I'm going to cue this music up. Stephen, you had a lot to offer. You have a lot there. Is there a favorite quote? Is there a life mantra? Is there a manifesto that you say, this is my thing? What you want to leave us with a quote here? Or you want to just pick one that you like?
I thought about that, and Larry Winget wrote a book. I read his book, and in his book, the quote was, at the end of the day, if you smiled more than you frowned, laughed more than you cried, told your family and friends that you loved them, and had a good time doing what you do for a living, then it was a good day. Go to bed and say thanks.
Well, that's a complete quote right there. How about that? Larry Wingate is who?
He's just a motivational speaker, and he has written a couple books. Happened to read it and saw that quote out of it, and that was one of the Friday quotes of the week years ago.
It's like the Jim Valvano quote, right?
Yeah. It's very close to that.
Yeah. Well, I want to cue this up, Stephen. This has been great. This is Stephen Broadwell. Again, what a great thing, writing those letters and sharing them. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. This is Education, Leadership, and Beyond, proud member of the Education Podcast Network. We're going to sign off here. I'm at Andrew Murata 21 if I could help you in any way. Stephen will be in touch, my friend.
Thanks.
All right.